many years ago, over 45 years ago, is when I first experienced a communion, if you will. It just was unorthodox as I am in my life. I'm very unorthodox, but this night I reached a bottom. And some of you who are in recovery from drugs and alcohol and stuff, you know what that's in reference to. I'd reached the end of my rope, and I thought I was despairing of life, put it that way. And suddenly I beheld a vision in front of me. I was walking down a nature trail in Elmhurst. I was stoned out of my mind, high on pills and alcohol, and I'd been beaten to a pulp a few days before on St. Patrick's Day in March of 1980. And this vision opened up. Dead ahead, the path I was on, the direction I was going, went down into a dark pit where it was just death and destruction. But I saw another pathway, beautiful light, and it was drawing me, saying, come here and live. And I don't know what happened. To this day, I don't understand it, but the next thing I knew, I was in a parking lot of a church close to the prairie path, nature trail I was on, but a significant distance away. I don't know how I got there. But I felt excited. I just had some sort of a spiritual experience, and I wanted to share it with a Christian. And I had it in my mind, I got to get in this church and talk to the pastor, Christian or something. So I was in front of this door. I went over, grabbed the door. It's locked. I went all the way around the church, tried every door there. They were all locked. Came back to where I'd started in the parking lot, and the doubts started to come in. And the voices are saying, you're out of your mind. You're crazy. You're hallucinating. This didn't really happen. And as I turned to walk away, dejected, a voice said, and this voice, man, you didn't argue with this voice. It said, try the door again. And there was no debating, no questioning that voice. It was real authority. So I walked over to the door, and I just touched the handle and pulled it slightly, and it flew wide open. And I stepped inside the church, and it slammed shut right behind me. And I was wandering around in the dark. My glasses had been broken when I received my beating a few days before. I had dried blood splattered all over my coat. I looked like a terror or something. So I'm wandering down the hallway, feeling along, and I found a light switch and turned it on. And there's a pay phone, and I'm in the narthex, or the outer foyer of the church. And I had a brilliant idea. Well, there's a phone. If I call the police, they can find the pastor and hook me up with him. And so I called the police. I told them where I was at. And when I said who I was, and the cop, this is a long time ago, the actual policeman, answered the phone when I called the police department. He said, you're in Grace Bible Church? He said something to the effect like, hold on, we'll be there right away. And I thought, well, I got some time, I'll go exploring while I wait for the police to arrive. So I stepped into the sanctuary. I didn't know what it was called. I'd never been in a church, really. And I found a light switch in there, and I turned it on. I'm in this beautiful big sanctuary. And at the other end of the aisle I'm in, there's the pulpit. I didn't know it was a pulpit, but it was just a lectern or something like that. And behind it, there were stained glass windows, and there was a big, beautiful picture of Jesus up on the wall right above the pulpit. And on the main floor, right down on the floor level, the pulpit was elevated a little bit, and there was a table, and carved into the edge of the table it said, "This do in remembrance of me." So here I am standing there looking at this scene, and I've got a can of beer in my hand. It wasn't full, but it had a good amount in there. And I felt drawn forward. Something was drawing me forward. I began to step forward, and of course, being mindful of this beer in my hand, I drained it. Didn't want it to go to waste. But I had it in my mind, this was it. This was my last hurrah with go-around. And I crumpled up the beer can as I was walking forward, and all these scenes of depravity and evil that I had engaged in were just flashing through my mind one after the other with each step. I just was experiencing all this turmoil, and I just felt so sick and dirty and tore up inside. And as I got to the table, I was looking into the eyes of Jesus in this picture, and I just took this beer can and laid it on the communion table, and I go, that's it, Lord, I'm done. And just like that, all of the sickness, the addiction, the drive to, shoot heroin, steal money, drink, pop pills, whatever it was just gone. I felt absolutely wonderful. And I looked up, and all of the stained glass windows are just strobing and flashing. I'm like, wow, man, check that out, I found out later that every cop car, ambulance, and fire truck in Elmhurst was in the parking lot then. They'd all arrived with silent approach, but all their lights were on, flashing and everything. So then I heard people yelling and pounding on the doors and everything, and I felt like this is my home now. I'm home now with God. This is where I belong. And then I had the idea, another brilliant idea, I'm going to go let them in. This is my house, and they're knocking on the door. So as I was walking down the same hallway where I'd entered, I heard keys jingling, and the doors popped open, and firemen and cops come running in, and one of them threw me up against the wall, and then the guy with the keys walked up. He was a sergeant who had processed me through the Elmhurst Police Department on the way to county jail more than once, And he looked at me and go, how did you get in here? And I said, well, I told him my story. I walked all around the church after having this vision, and then God told me, try the door again, and it popped open. And just then, as I'm telling him this cop walks out of the sanctuary with my crushed up beer can. He's holding it in two fingers up in the air like it was, he was going to bite him or something. And well, anyway, I'll stop with that. But that's kind of how I had my first communion experience that night. And that was 45 years and 5 months ago. God is good.
All the time.